All right, it is 6:34 a.m. on Thursday, November 28th. It is Thanksgiving, and we're looking at a contract in V through Theta's, the image of a contract in V through Theta's YouTube channel, and I guess it's typical on this date if one is doing anything, to proceed, from a point of thankfulness about the things that one already has. And I guess, since it was my intention to do work, I'll talk about the fact that I'm grateful that I have work to do, and I'm grateful that the work is its own reward. But it's not really motivated by a desire for money or attention or adulation. I do it because I enjoy doing it, and I do it because I want to share that enjoyment with others, and I do it also because it's difficult for me. So it's I guess the best way to put it is that it addresses all of those areas in which I'm in some way deficient, lexically, mathematically, and bijective functionally. I'm not really good with one-to-one correspondence, that is linear sequencing. And so a lot of what we do, particularly here on this in this area of the BRE scores, is extremely difficult, and takes a lot of work and labor and time for me to perform. And so when individuals are willing to do that work, to experience what it's like for a dysgraphic or a dyslexic actually to decipher what for some of us looks pretty much like what this does to the rest of you, it's actually pretty. Well, I appreciate anybody who's willing to do the work. Let's just put it that way. And that's one thing. And then, of course, I'm grateful for the fact that everyone in my family is healthy at this time, and Lori and I are both healthy. I've had a virus, but it's trivial compared to some of the medical problems that others have, and our dogs are healthy as well and happy, and we have everything that we need. We own our own house, and we have a place, we have shelter and warmth, and we have a heater that works. We have a swamp cooler that works in the summer, and we don't have to experience a lot of hardship, and that wasn't always the case. Lori and I have been homeless before. And so I don't know what it's like to be homeless for years and years the way that some people do, but I know what it's like to have nothing. When we moved to the Navajo Nation, we had a little Nissan Sentra, and we had the clothes on our backs, and a cat that we found, a feral cat, and that was it. And we managed to survive and rebuild, from there, and that was just a few years ago. We've lost everything a couple of times, so we're grateful for that. And even though we didn't find a pumpkin over the last couple of days, we do have bulgur wheat and mushrooms and celery and butternut squash and raisins and all kinds of seeds and nuts and green beans and little yellow finished potatoes and there's plenty of we're gonna have plenty of food today, so we're grateful for all of that. But I thought, you know, I'm grateful for the work, you know, that some of my viewers are actually willing to do, because you know, as I said, what we do really does require a lot of intellectual work, and I consider intellectual work a form of labor. It certainly doesn't belong to the hey guys, the dogs are arguing over on Thanksgiving. You're gonna argue over whose bone that is? Seriously. Anyway, I kind of lost track there. It's certainly not the kind of labor, you know, that we were talking about yesterday in this video, and Leon Mosquito and Jeff Bezos and whoever owns Starbucks and whoever owns Google's, you know, attempts to do away with the National Labor Relations Board, you know, and the physical labor that you know, particular agency, you know, protects and has protected, you know, since 1935. But I still, you know, consider it a form of labor, and so I'm grateful that people are willing to do it. And today's like you know, the space-time travel communication coordinate number, you know, from these views that I'm looking at today. Let's just put it this way: it was neither easy to get there, nor is it easy to know enough about me to produce, and I'll address that, you know, before I actually, you know, respond, you know, to it. But we just, you know, start with the 6 and 6 and 6, and so I guess, you know, for some people out there, like the 666 would be a real, you know, negative number and refer to the mark of the beast or whatever that is. But as anybody who really knows about our grammar and space-time travel communication coordinates, you know, you'll probably remember that for the longest time, you know, Jimi Hendrix was the complex set for Jimi Hendrix was 16, and we spent a lot of time organizing it that way, because my house number here in Albuquerque is 1623, or I see what I said, you know, dysgraphia is 1923, and the reason that Jimi Hendrix was 16 and that we organized that playlist in the way that we did was because the 23rd item on the Jimi playlist was Voodoo Chow, and that's the bluesy one with Al Cooper on keyboards, and it's largely you know, it sounds like largely improv. And even the writing, you know, the words sound like largely improv. It's not the famous, you know, flashy Voodoo Child Slight Return, but the long bluesy one. And I always thought, you know, both the lyrics of that song and just the way that it was handled, like expressed a lot about my life, and so it's kind of a self-portrait. So the Jimi Hendrix Complex playlist was number 16 for the longest time, until we really started overhauling our music library here with the resources that we have available to do it, since we have money, at this time. We don't live for money. We live for, I don't know, I guess, we live for art and work and a certain amount of good humor when possible, and like just continuing to do the work that we see that's good for the world in one way or another, but not to be holier than thou about it. I think a sense of humor really helps in all of this. But anyway, I was saying, so that 1923 Voodoo Chow, like that is my my home address, was a acknowledgement of that relationship to Jimi Hendrix music, and my appreciation for what he did. Also, in memory of his life, and the misfortune of the racism that contributed to his demise, and his passed from us way too soon. So those so how we get those how we get those sixes to become nines is also is part of the grammar of our space-time travel communication coordinate system. It's also part of the grammar of the BRE system. As well, in which letters are transformed into numbers and numbers are transformed into letters. Sixes are nines, and nines become sixes, and there's only one exception around this tune. There's a Robert Musso. What? Oh, I'm space time. I'm making a video, Lori, for YouTube. My speech is directed at the camera. No, don't worry about it. There's a Robert Musso tune, which is called If Six Were Eight, and around this tune is the only exception, and then all of the sixes become eights, and the eights become sixes, and that's a little different. I want to, because it's so rare, I won't really explain how that works in terms of language, but I'll go back to the BREs and explain how the the BREs involve that grammar in utilizing letters and language relationships to numbers. So that this really only affects a few letters, any letter that has a 6 or a 9. And so the first letter that has a 6 or a 9 is the F. The F is the 6th letter in our alphabet. And so F's become 9s, and I's, which is 9, become F's. And then P's become S's, and S's become P's, and because they have 6 and or 9 in them as well. And then the only other letter, and I have to remember this one because we don't use it very often, that has a 6 is of course the final letter of the alphabet, which is Z. And so if you're trying to decipher those BRE questions, just remember that part of that grammar is also an homage to Jimi Hendrix, and in particular the song If Six Was Nine, and so you kind of need to know that, and don't expect my spelling to be perfect. I struggle writing those questions, probably more than you struggle deciphering them, because of my, as I said, I don't want to say deficit, but because of certain limitations, right? So like I was saying, so for for somebody, this number might be negative, but for me, it's really positive. The first thing that's positive about it is that there are three of the same number in a row. And anybody who really knows me very well will know that, something happening three times for me is a special event, and it's I guess it's derived from my reading of Celtic or Celtic and other fairy tales in which basically like one of the structures in these folklores and fairy tales and mythologies is that basically like the same thing happens three times, but the third time marks a change. Like if you have if you have a character in disguise, some character that is either a being possessed with magical powers, or a goddess in disguise as a hag, or some entity in disguise as a beggar, and the first encounter with the first person is some kind of denial or refusal to acknowledge whatever it is that this character in disguise is offering or asking, and the second one that follows the same form, and then you have a pattern, right? So it takes two to form the pattern, and then the third one breaks the pattern, and so it's a magical number in that sense, and it follows from my reading of my observation of certain kinds of patterns that exist in certain kinds of literature. So you have, like in this one, you have the three ravens, right? Well, there's this by the way is an image. I think it's an image from an advertisement for Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, and then this is of course Keynes, the economist. You can look up Keynes. Let's see. I'm gonna do a new search for. Well, anyway, let's see. We really need to get into all this. There he is, John Maynard Keynes, and the reason he's up there is because we were referring to tariffs, and he had a certain notion about tariffs, and not many respected economists today agree with that, and then hence the ellipsis with the birds, who are that ellipsis, of course. I don't think it'll give anything away if you haven't looked at it yet. Check it out. But the ellipsis refers to an "I told you so," and of course it does so in the form of an apophysis, and that's part of the joke. And then the ravens, surrounding the guy, and the ravens are pretty bad news, and the birds, if you didn't know that. See, Keynes is holding a dollar sign in one hand and a question mark in the other, and then you have this "I told you so" on part of the three birds, and the three birds are also a magic sign in a number of different mythologies, and of course they belong to Odin in Norse mythology. We don't have to get into all that because we could talk forever about some of the significance of some of the stuff that we do, and never really exhaust it entirely. But back to the three, and how that becomes an important number for us. Because, the third time is the charm, I suppose. If we see a pattern of three, I think I've talked about this in space-time travel communication coordinates, we'll typically add those three, together, or multiply, 1 by the number 3, which is the same thing. And, and of course you get the number, 27. So you have 1127, and that's significant, in and of itself, because yesterday was November, the 11th month, and the 27th day, and so it referred to yesterday. But as a space-time travel communication coordinate, it's also pretty special, because go back to the space-time travel communication coordinates, and here we are again. And if we just and when I do this, I'm going to give something away because it's coming up. Just ignore Casper Brodsman yet, because we we haven't introduced him in our space-time travel configuration changes, and so he's there because he's part of the future. Let's put it that way. But don't be counting Casper Brodsman in your space-time travel communication coordinates until we introduce him later, because he's not part of the numerical system yet. He will be. So I guess whoever spent so much time getting this number also rewarded everyone with a little foretaste of the future here. But if we count out 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, we get to Archie Shepp, and and then we have 27, right? That we want to count to. So as I said, counting is difficult for me, so I've figured out ways to get around that in just about every part of my life, and that includes counting space-time travel communication coordinates. Linear sequencing is very, very difficult. So we know that there are 18 units here from top to bottom. If I position this correctly on the screen, and so this is going to be 18, and then we know that 18 plus 9 equals 27. So I'm going to count down 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that takes us to this unit, body and soul, and that's what I think is pretty special on this day, Thanksgiving, body and soul, because it has so much meaning. And if you look it up, this is a jazz standard, and it was written in 1930, and I'll read some of this. Body and Soul is a popular song and jazz standard written in 19 with music by Johnny Green and lyrics by Edward Heyman, Robert Sauer, and Frank Eaton. It was also used as the musical theme and underscoring in the American film noir boxing drama Body and Soul. So I mean, that's kind of special too, because anybody that knows enough about me, that knows I love boxing and used to be a boxer, and did all that work to get there, it really does feel like a gift. And let's see if they have the lyrics. There's Keynes again. Not really concerned with him today. He was just there to explain the image of the ravens and the ellipsis. The ellipsis, that one, it's pretty complicated semiotically. Those ellipses are references to apophysis, and the apophysis is a reference to the content "I told you so," which we promise not to say, which of course is an apophysis if you say it after you. Anyway, you get the idea. What was I looking up? Oh yeah, I want to see if the lyrics for Body and Soul are available. Let's see, that's where we just were. There we go. Let's see. I guess I need to put in, there may be, other versions. Johnny Green. Lyrics in English, it's kind of interesting. It's like, yeah, there we go, Johnny Green. All right, let's just, I don't know if you can't really assume that, oh, there we go. You can't really assume that the genius is genius. Oops, we're getting an ad. Hard to get around the ads sometimes. Anyway, it's one of these love tunes, and it can mean a lot of it mean in a lot of different ways, signify in a lot of different ways, uh, and one of the ways that it can signify is through the is through the lyrics, and another set of ways that it can signify is through the structure and development of the song itself. So I'll just read that and then leave interpretation largely up to my my viewers and my listeners, but there can be a lot going on here as well. Body and Soul is usually performed in the key of D flat major. There is a verse that precedes the chorus that is rarely performed, although recordings by both Libby Holman and Billie Holiday include it. The main part of the tune consists of a repeated 8-bar melody, followed by an 8-bar bridge and a final 8-bar return to the melody. All right, so four sets of 8, right? A tune consists of a repeated 8-bar melody, followed by an 8-bar bridge, and a final 8-bar return. So number 8, and then the 32-bar AABA form is typical of popular songs of the time. The A section uses conventional chord progressions, including I don't know how to express this notation, but 2 VI turnarounds in the home key of D flat. However, the bridge is highly unusual in its tonal center shifts. It has been described as a bridge like no other, and that that seems to be significant in its reference to a singularity as and this bridge as singularity. I won't say too much more. Body and Soul is considered a challenging piece to solo over. However, the unusual nature of the chords provide a large degree of improvisational freedom, and and that's certainly the case in what happens in the Archie Shepp version. And then here's a list of notable recordings. Coleman Hawkins. I don't think we have a Coleman Hawkins playlist, or even any Coleman Hawkins. That might be something that we address. Frank Sinatra and Bobby Hackett, Tony Bennett and Amy Winehouse. And so it's often performed by duos as well, which is probably important in interpreting the meaning of this tune, right? Is there anything else that we need to say about being grateful for this space-time travel communication coordinate here? Well, we've said a lot already. And, I guess, for Thanksgiving, talking about the way that, that we use and interpret and there, I think we've done, a lot of work on how some of these numbers can be grouped into, different kinds of sets in the relationship that, our work has with set theory in various ways. Now I'm kind of curious about the numbers that follow. 3, 2, 5, 26. I'm not seeing anything really obvious with those, but this, some of the ways that we use sets and how sets can have semantic or thematic or significative connections, right? And so this particular set of 3 6s has semantic connections that relate, both to our grammar and its relationship with Hendrix, but also, you know, with this particular, you know, branch of folklore and storytelling that you know, that this pattern of threes is so important to in the unfolding of its, you know, both neurological significance and its you know, sort of, you know, and the magic that it performs, right? Like its ability to perform magic depends on this third happening. You do it once and you can't expect a magical result. You do it again, you can't expect a positive outcome, and you do it a third time and you can perhaps, you know, expect a positive magical outcome. So, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, body and soul, you know, is a magical outcome for today, and certainly, like, I'm certainly thankful for it, and I'm also really thankful for that the number 666, you know, means something positive for me, and not, you know, that I'm not I'm not. I, I don't know. Beholden, you know, to whatever terror that you know, some, you know, apocalyptic, you know, misinterpretation, right, of or some misinterpretation of what revealing is, runs my life and casts me into this domain of fearfulness and you know, all that stuff, out of which, you know, insurrections and malice and stuff, you know, really proceed from. So you know, all of that having been said, we'll either do something you know, in honor of like as the time that, you know, somebody like really took to come up with this particular space-time travel communication coordinate referent and all of its significances, by either playing the Archie Shep along with something and, you know, coming up with an excuse for that, or finding another version of Body and Soul, that Coleman Hawkins. I really got to look at it, you know, listen to it and see if maybe we can add that, you know, to the playlist somewhere. So we'll see. And then I was going to do In the Grip of Thermostatin until I saw these numbers, and just really felt the need to talk about the numbers on the front, you know, page, and my gratitude for all the work that people do to communicate with me. It just seems pretty remarkable, really. So all that having been said, I guess, you know, that's the end of this one, and we'll proceed on to some version or variation of Body and Soul.